Hi, Andy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. We are two girls who scare easily, and we talk about the spooky and mysterious in Colorado. And we have a very special spooky episode today. With us are Bill Diggle and Jeff Parker, the lead roles in the upcoming Platte Valley Theater's production of Frankenstein by Nick Deere. Gonna say hi, guys.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff.
Hi, I'm Bill.
And can you tell us what characters you're playing?
Yes, you can tell us apart because he's more sonorous. I am
Ooh.
playing the role of the creature.
And I am the creator of the creature, or Victor Frankenstein, as they call him in the play.
Excellent. So excited. All right. For those of you who are not familiar with Frankenstein, where have you been? But Katie's going to give us a quick recap on the famous or infamous novel.
Thank you. Just full spoilers, this is one of my favorite novels of all time. I've absolutely loved it for years, so this is really exciting. So, Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, was written in 1818. It was a Gothic novel by author Mary Shelley, who is my girl. Frankenstein tells the story of Victor Frankenstein, a young scientist who creates a sapient creature in an unorthodox scientific experiment involving putting together various body parts from deceased individuals. And then shenanigans ensue. That's my ad lib. Shelley started writing the story when she was 18, but the first edition was published anonymously in London on January 1st, 1818, when she was 20. And then her name appears in the second edition that was published in 1821. The story famously began as a rainy day project. In 1816, Mary, her lover, then soon to be husband Percy, John Polidori, and Lord Byron, there's a name drop for you, had a competition to see who could write the best horror story. So they all isolate themselves in various parts of the house. Rain is pouring down. There's mist. There's fog. It's a mood. There's only candles. And after thinking for a few days, Mary Shelley was inspired to write Frankenstein after imagining a scientist who created life and then was horrified by what he made. And how would that play out? Which we have a couple questions that delve right into that. So I'm very curious to see both of your takes on it as being performers in this production. Frankenstein is one of the best known works in English literature. It is infused with elements of Gothic novels, romantic movement. It has considerable influence on our pop culture. I think it's fair to say that much horror, really all horror, and a lot of science fiction gets its roots directly from this concept and what Mary Shelley does and creates. And it has touched every aspect on the way. Spawning complete genres of stories, films, and plays, which leads into a perfect segue into the adaptation that you two are performing in this month.
Yay! That was a great summary. I've been obsessed with this novel as well. I didn't know all of that lovely sitting in a darkened, candlelit room trying to win acclaim from Lord Byron, and she happens to invent sci-fi. It's such a cool story.
Mm-hmm. So would you two both like to dive into a synopsis of this adaptation and maybe some of the differences that the audience might experience in it versus the novel if they are familiar with the novel?
I can kick us off in terms of the start. I will let Jeff, who is a bigger fan of the novel and more in-depth knowledge than I, carry some of the differences. But it does start interestingly enough and appropriately enough in a spot that I think is not dwelled upon in so many of the films and so much of the culture, in the actual birth, we'll say, metaphorical but somewhat literal on our stage, birth of the creature, which and that is what the monster, if you will, is referred to throughout the piece and in the script itself. So the birth of the creature and starting with the actual, first breath, if you will, is where we begin. And from there, we spend a lot of time with the creature in the beginning. I am shocked as Dr. Frankenstein. I am shocked and dismayed at what I have created and disappear for a year in the context of the play, and then return, which in a year is about 40 minutes. So it's not that long, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just an awesome place to start at the very beginning, very, very beginning. And then I think that is something that is rather unique to this piece. And then I will pass it to Jeff for some of the more technical differences.
Thank you, Bill Diggle. Yeah, one of the biggest differences is, of course, the novel is epistolary. It's written in the context of this kind of foppish ship captain, if I may, who stumbles across Victor and is writing florid letters to his sister, I believe, or whoever it may be. And then Victor recounts the story of how it all came to be. This play takes it, rather than Victor being the point of view character, rather than it being the scientist, it's more about, at least in the first act, I believe, the part of the novel we only get to hear through exposition, the meeting of DeLacy, what it is like to be abandoned in the woods, meeting the creator for the first time, the horrible and challenging moral degradation as he tries to become more and more human. And he's just met against all these things, and it gets real dark. But I would say that's sort of the main difference, is we have no epistolary format. There is no letter writing structure. And we have the point of view, very, very well written point of view of the creature's development.
I love that. The creature is, the more interesting perspective, especially
Sorry,
because
Bill.
the original novel was from Frankenstein's point of view and kind of him relating the story. So it's pretty interesting to get the opposite side of the coin.
Yeah, in the original production, the actors who played Frankenstein and the creature traded roles every performance. So Victor was also the creature, and the creature was also Victor. Very cool concept. I think we made the right choice, not necessarily going down that path, but it was conceived with that concept in mind.
I love that. That's fascinating. So you were already a fan of Frankenstein before the play. Bill, were you a fan of Frankenstein or like less familiar?
Horror is not a genre, or thriller is not a genre in which I've spent a lot of time. I did see The Shining far too young and a couple other things of that nature, but am an adrenaline junkie and thus do enjoy the scare. But I was not a huge fan of Frankenstein. No, and a fan of Mary Shelley, and actually did. I have a couple friends who wrote a musical about the night that this particular book was written, with those four historical characters. That is incredibly interesting too. So funnily enough, I knew all that, but have come to know Frankenstein differently. The historical pieces are always an interesting choice. I've done a number of them, and do you read the source material? How much do you delve into the source material? It informs, but at some point, you can, as a performer, you can only do what's on the page, right? Or bring to life what's on the page. And so I made the choice partially out of time, but partially it's an artistic choice, I think, to take what was given of Victor, because there is so much of Victor in the novel and there's a lot less of Victor in the play, literally and depth wise. Like, we make some discoveries, but everything Victor discovers in this play happens through the creature. Like, every discovery about humanity and his own foibles and his own challenges all happen interacting with this thing he created, which is a father of a 4-year-old. I also very much feel is a thing that happens in life as well. But yeah, so I have become just a big fan of this piece, the things it says about the universe and where we find ourselves, the current state of the world. All these things are are sort of allegorically, metaphorically handled in this piece in a really beautiful, interesting, and entertaining way.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, that's a wonderful segue, although you so much answered it, but I'm excited. What excited both of you about playing these characters in this adaptation? Since there is so much, even though, Bill, you're not on stage as much, there is still this theme of you two always pulling towards each other. So, what excited each of you when you realized that you had this opportunity?
So many things. It is one of the best scripts, just as a piece of theater, even if you don't know the novel at all. It's just one of the best scripts I've ever read. When you go through a show to prepare, it's not uncommon to read the script as many as 20 times. And each time I read it, there was something else. Um, a word, a phrase, a reference, a throwback that just made me realize how textured and immersive this piece is. I first discovered it watching it rather than reading it. I saw the National Theatre live production with Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller. No, I'm lying to you. I saw this on stage at the Denver Center in 2015, 2016. I saw that before I saw the National Theatre. And it does remain maybe up there with Lehman Trilogy, my favorite thing I've ever seen at the Denver Center. And I'm at the Denver Center a lot. It was just so different, and it incorporated aspects of Japanese dance theater, and it incorporated contact improv, um and lastly I'll say horror. I think, I don't know about if you agree, Bill, but I think horror is one of the toughest genres to do on stage, because we're so used to the cinematic, atmospheric nature of a novel or film. But this production really just struck me to the quick. I still think about it. So when Kelly, our director, our fabulous director, mentioned the possibility that I may get to tackle this role that I perceived was well out of my reach, I got real excited. I got real scared. And then I just threw myself into everything Frankenstein. And that's been the last. Bill and I knew that we would be playing these roles in advance. So what kind of runway did we have, Bill? Like a year?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we had a good runway to get us into this material as we possibly could. And with a play that's awesome, it wasn't too difficult to do that.
Here. Yeah, we've had a long runway to know about this, and then also Jeff and I have had a friendship of about 2 years, but have never gotten to perform together. And so this is also the first opportunity where we get to share the stage, and is one of the things, you talk about them. So, the two characters circling each other. Jeff and I were circling each other for a couple of years too, just trying to find the right opportunity to share the stage. And this is just a prime opportunity for that. We have some amazing scenes, and the partnership on stage and the experience of that has been an absolute blast. And then Victor is. I should have asked this ahead of time. Are curse words allowed or no curse words?
Yes. Go. Yeah.
Okay.
Go
Right.
ahead. This is
I have a tendency to play, as I've told Jeff many times, charming assholes. This is a genre in which I live, because I have a kind face, but am good at being mean. But Victor falls into that genre, but he's a self-obsessed charming asshole, and like I don't. The level of self-obsession is something that in my own life I don't get to delve into, and I don't get to think that the world is all about me. And that's all I do on stage. Is I have no real notion, except for glimpses where I'm forced, sometimes physically, by this thing I created to see another version of the world. And it is just a joy to delve into that, and also kind of maybe understand some of the people who are also in the zeitgeist in this day and age.
Yeah.
Very true. Wow. So have you had more of a background in like comedic roles or serious, or have you done a little bit of everything?
Bill and I are both musical theater kids.
Okay.
We had our professional careers. Bill in DC, myself in New York, just doing musicals. Not to say we didn't do plays, but
Mhm.
I don't know about you, Bill. I would say 98% of my professional work has been musical theater. And there's not a lot of dramatic, thrilling musical theater. So while there are some lovely, rich roles I've been lucky enough to play, there's also song and dance man. Bill plays charming asshole. I play charming idiot. So playing, the tap dancing, smiling clown is actually where I spend most of my time. So, being able to take my love of specificity that you do in clowning and apply it to something in a wholly different genre has been the thrill of a lifetime.
Yeah, it's like definitely musicals. Mine's like 70% musicals, 30% plays in the grand scheme of things. Um, but yeah, I took a circuitous path across the country. I've performed in 37, 8 states, something like that, including a national tour, but also a bunch of small, tiny theaters and towns that you're like, there's a theater there? Yeah, and then was DC based for a while, but the opportunity to get to do this particular show, because it's just rarely done. It is a very complex, it is technically demanding of the theater. There's a lot of things that make this piece challenging. So to have it being performed in the greater Denver area at this level is unique and special. So it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, we get to flex our muscles in a slightly different way. In his case, real muscles, mine are metaphorical.
So, how long have you guys been with the Platte Valley Theater?
Well, our fabulous director, Kelly Van Osprey, is the artistic director of Platte Valley Theater Arts. She's also the artistic director of another theater company in town, Performance Now, out in Lakewood. And Bill and I have both been lucky enough to work with Kelly, not just at Platte Valley, but at other theaters as well. My first show, I'm a dialect coach when I'm not performing. And I think my first show with Platte Valley was 2022 when I started dialect coaching for them. And then I've been in at least one show a year after that.
And my first show with Platte Valley was a year ago, May, or May of a year ago. We did a Midsummer Night's Dream with which Jeff vocal coached for that one, which was a blast to do the Shakespeare there too. And then, as Jeff said, Kelly and I have crossed paths. I've been in the greater Denver theater scene for going on 3 years now, and of the 8-10 shows I've done, Kelly has directed 7 out of 10. So yeah, I've been strong, or she's directed or choreographed 7 out of 10. So she has been a strong artistic influence in my time here in this area.
Yeah, Platte Valley Theater Arts is a spectacular organization that Kelly has built and promoted. And it's really amazing the kind of work they do. I really like the fact that the theater is like the art that is put out as good, but tickets are cheap because Kelly very smartly applies for a lot of grants. So we can see really good theater for 20% of what it would cost at the Arvada Center. No disrespect, I love the Arvada Center, but it's just a great company to work for.
Oh, we love that. We love supporting the arts.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Um, do you want to switch to me for
Yeah.
a couple questions, or do you have a okay?
No, go ahead. I went
So
off
we
script. I
did.
was just curious.
That's fine. I only panicked a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. I can go off script. It's fine. Now, both of you did briefly talk about other roles and other experience in the theater. But more explicitly, Bill, I will start with a couple questions for you, and then Jeff, I will move into a couple more technical questions for you, because I want to pick your brains. Now, at least as far as the internet goes, and I believe I have my facts right. Last spring, Bill, you were in the farcical comedy The Cottage, where your character, Beau, was described as supremely pompous, and I got a very nice giggle for that, especially when you already referenced that you have a knack for playing charming assholes. And you did mention, as I think we all know, a common character flaw realism about Victor Frankenstein is he is also supremely pompous, in a much more dour manner, but he is a very self-absorbed person. And yet, how do you move from preparing for a comedic role that is a charming asshole into a much more dramatic role where the self-absorption doesn't make you laugh, it makes you go, ugh. So can you talk a little bit about preparing and how it's different and making that switch from something that's comedic and lighthearted to really heavy dramatic, and how that impacted your understanding of Victor Frankenstein?
Thank you for that question. We don't often get to delve too deeply into these kinds of things. So, the comedic approach is obviously the scripts are different in and of themselves, right? So we different words, but interestingly enough, they're both in a British accent, right? So we have slight variations on the British accent for The Cottage. And so I tend to work rather I'm going to say outside in to embrace that cliche. So finding a character's cadence, how they speak, how they sound, really helps me then delve into where they feel things too. So in The Cottage, we're going. No Coward was what Jeff, who vocal coached that one, much more forward, much more clipped. It's got a very light sound. You're up here and then you're doing different things. Whereas for me, Victor's going to sit in a much lower, he's going to sit more in my more natural baritone and has a much different sound because while he is super academic, he also comes from a visceral place where he just believes in himself down here, which is different than Beau, who believed in himself up here. And while he was also a womanizer and had some of his, he never really got much below this level of his existence. Everything was kind of up here for him. And Victor lives in the viscera, believes that, and then also happens to be super smart. So if you believe something in your gut and you're super smart, who's better than you? There is no one. It's here and here, you've got it fully covered. And then you add wealth, you add privilege, you layer on the Frankenstein name and everything that he was brought up with. And they do reference how he was the apple of his mother's eye. His mother died. So that, there are some pieces in there that also give you some pain to pull from. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with just the sound, and then also the words on the page. Like, we don't get a lot of jokes. Jeff gets some occasional, and we'll see. We hope
If
we'll
they
get our
land,
first.
yes.
Exactly. We'll see how this all falls out tonight. But yeah, so the approach is different, and I also feel lucky that I get the opportunity to in May be in The Cottage and be funny, and then in October be in Frankenstein and take on a whole different set. Not all directors are going to allow an actor that opportunity either to play those two contrasting things. So that's another gift from Kelly.
I love it. Thank you. I love talking about and diving into this kind of stuff. So if time was not a constraint, we could nerd out probably for the rest of the day.
I'd listen. That was fascinating. Good
Oh,
work.
great. So thank you. And Jeff, You already talked about how you're a dialect coach and a voice coach, specifically a teacher of Fitzmaurice voice work and Knight Thompson speech work. I may or may not have looked at your LinkedIn. I don't know.
Light
Oh, the one I
stalking,
haven't
you know.
updated in a decade. My apologies.
So did I just get everything wrong? Because I'll sign
No,
off
you're
right now.
1,000%
Andy,
right.
take it away. I must leave immediately. So, which lends perfectly into playing the creature. He is a very, very embodied character in the novel, full stop, but also in this production because the focus is a lot more on his perspective and his point of view. So, can you share with us how your approach to playing him and the physicality that you had to practice in order to get in his headspace kind of came about? And then how that maybe changed or didn't change your understanding of him as a character?
Wow, that's a good question. I will say, as someone who considers themselves a more cerebral actor who deals more with the vocal part of the performance, I'm very careful about rhetoric and which words get lifted and what speed it all goes by at. And then physically, either I'm singing and dancing, and so there's kind of a musical theater template built into that, or I'm playing a contemporary, realistic, like the priest in doubt. There's nothing physically that's crazy different. For those of you who don't know, I'm not 7 feet tall like the creature is. I know.
I'm
I
out.
know.
I'm out.
I
I'm
know.
out.
I'm barely
This is a
hitting
farce.
6, y'all. But so the idea of him being this hulking, I'll just say Hulk, of being the Hulk, was something that wasn't going to work for me. So I thought, well, if he still has to be a threat, what makes him dangerous? And so I looked at a kind of animalistic savagery, what you would observe if you were alone in the woods, abandoned, terrified, and watching things hunt, watching things stalk, the unabashed violence of nature. And so kind of tapped into that. Wolverine was ironically a big inspiration for me in this role because he's also short, but short and fierce. And also, we were lucky enough to have a lovely consultant on the show named Elise Newbert, who is a movement consultant. And between Kelly's experience as a choreographer and Elise's mastery in modern movement, they were really supportive and gave me a lot of really good, specific feedback. But for example, the first 10 minutes of the play is me, as Bill mentioned, being born and learning how to walk. And that's a whole sequence I had to choreograph for, how does an arm work? How do legs work? What does light look like? And once I sort of found that, where the creature felt pain and where he moved from, and then putting a lot in the heart, that kind of activated the physicality. My physicality, I would say, Bill, I've never been brave enough to ask you, but the creature's physicality is weird because he's not modeling himself on anyone he's observed. So he may be holding his elbows strangely. He may gesture in a way that other people don't. So finding all those idiosyncrasies that were separate from me really helped me get into it. And then when I felt the emotional life, I just tried to be Wolverine on the inside and like flowy bamboo on the outside until I had to be savage. That's been most of the work of the last year is physical training, conditioning, um, learning the Alexander technique, learning Feldenkrais, learning new movement vocabularies. It was interesting. In Feldenkrais, they unlocked my hips in a way that had never been unlocked. And I started walking with less pain and more ease than I've ever felt. And it reminded me that I was relearning to walk just as this creature was learning to walk. And it became this beautiful gift of what it feels like to be aware of yourself as you're making discoveries. And then working with Bill, we just play off each other physically. We just go, and it's great.
I love that. I love leaning into the kind
Wonderful.
of inhuman nature of this person who's made of human body parts.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's fascinating.
Thank you.
I love it. Okay, this one's for both of you. The play and the novel both deal with many central themes, one of them being monstrosity, physical monstrosity as a Gothic concept, and monstrous behavior. Who do you think is the true monster in Frankenstein?
I have
I
a
mean,
notion.
we talk at the same moment. I will say, who is the true? I mean, I'm gonna say Victor. I'm gonna say Victor is it's some combination, right? Because like Victor has endowed the creature with something that is monstrous as well in its own way, but and I don't want to give away or take us all the way to the ending, as we are not at the ending, but the way the play ends as these two creatures live for one another, right? It sort of brings us full circle and really God, I'm going to say life affirming way, I guess so. Like what life can mean so many things in so many different ways, right? We all need something to live for. Um, if it is hatred, if it is love, if it is, if it can be anything. And, um, and if you find something to live for and it gives you purpose for life, and you are not actually destroying other things, go forth. you know, Jeff, what do you think? Who's the monster?
For the first 28 scenes of our 30 scene play, it's Victor. But in scene 29, the creature makes a choice to do something so horribly profound, horrible and profoundly painful. And then the last scene of the play is him embracing that. Again, without giving away too much from the great, great way it's written, the creature has the line, "Now I am a man." And so
Mm.
his idea of being a monster is when he fully embraces what he thinks it means to be human as it's been modeled by Victor. So with Victor being the villain all the way up until the creature decides he's going to play the same game and go even further than Victor. Yeah, he starts it, I end it. That's my short answer.
I mean, who among us haven't been in toxic relationships?
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
It's a
We are
it's a
absolutely codependent, and it is not healthy for either of us.
No.
yes. I was thinking my brain was going a very different way, and my analogy has always been like Victor Frankenstein is the daddy from whence the daddy issues came in the creature. As the kids say, I don't know slang. I don't think I used that right. Maybe I did. I love those responses. So how has it been working together on stage? Because you have obviously worked together before, but not really being able to play opposite each other. And this is a very intimate play. It's a very dark, heavy play, but it's intimate when it comes to the two of you working together. So how's that been?
I think it's been amazing. Bill was generous enough to even meet before we started rehearsals. We got some space at the Denver Center and we just got together and read the scenes and saw how we are on stage, met each other, as it were. There's a particular type of actor that is so thrilling to work with that it becomes almost addictive. And that is an actor who is not only prepared and talented, but present and listening and engaged. And when they yell at you, they are staring into your soul. making you feel 2 inches tall. And when he's being hurt by me, I can see the pain in his eyes. I have to do very little acting because I just get to react to this ferocity and deep presence that Bill brings to his work. I like watching him even when I'm not on stage. In musicals, you don't always get to meet other actors that way. The scenes aren't as fierce, as demanding, as long. And for us to get to take our friendship and then meet as actors and really, I mean, it feels like a wrestling match or a tennis match. It's lively and it's thrilling. And I find myself looking forward to it the whole show, waiting for our scenes together. So for me, it's been a dream come true. And now Bill has to be nice because I was nice.
And that's very true. Otherwise, the
Mhm.
vibes will be off. So
That's why I went first.
Yeah. That was very smart, Jeffrey. Thank you for that one. It is. There are these moments where, and again, this is somewhat of a cliche, but you want the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts. And every now and then things come together and you get those moments. You don't often get a whole production that can be that like I've a handful of those in the 100 some that I've existed in. But Jeff and I really have some great moments where we get to get lost in a beautiful play because the piece is done so well too, and the there's so many levels between Victor and the creature, and like I we haven't even gotten to the bottom of them, and we only get 8 shows. Like if we had like a 3 month run, like it would be a whole different world 3 months from now. It's great, don't get me wrong, but like you get to mine the depths, and we've gotten, because of this type of scene partner Jeff is, in our relatively short production period, we have gotten to depths I did not know that we would get to because of the kind of partnership that we have on that stage. And it's a joy. It's the flow state. You get to turn off your brain and go, and those, you just don't get those opportunities that often. And so feel very lucky to have this one and to be able to share the stage with a friend. And let's be honest, at the beginning there's imposter syndrome. When we met before the play, I was like, what if I suck? What if I'm no good at this? What if I disappoint my friend? Like you have those fearful moments. I'm sure y'all have that in the podcast. You're like, are my questions as good? Does Andy take my questions? Like,
have it every single time I record with Andy. Every time.
See, like,
So yeah.
friendship and artistic creation can be amazing and just painful, but but Jeff and I have found the amazing side, and what we'll find out tonight with an audience is get the third character and how we all breathe together, because that's what he and I both desperately want. We're breathing on each other an awful lot. We really want some other air in that room, and I'm excited to share what he and I have created, and all of us in the show have created. So it's but bringing it back around, working with Jeff has been just as awesome as I hoped.
Oh, I love it.
We have one final serious question, and then we can get to some spooky nonsense.
It's what we're best at.
It is. It's our comfort spot. The play ends with the creature and Victor accepting that their relationship will exist in this tension until one or both of them die. And they walk out into the mist of the Arctic. What do you think happens next?
My answer is really sad, at least for the creature. What's yours, Bill?
Yeah, I have not gotten to the next moment, so that this is spitballing here. In the context of our play, just legitimately, the Victor has on some warmer clothing. So I do. Well, perhaps the creature's, the way he was created does not make him as susceptible to the cold.
He doesn't feel cold. That's like a huge part of the novel. It's like his superpower. That's why he leads him north to the Arctic, because I don't feel cold.
then now that I have that nugget of knowledge, I think that at least the way it ends right now, I think Victor tries desperately to keep up, and at some point, Victor essentially becomes the pet of the creature, which it kind of feels like has already happened to some extent at the end there, and just loses the will to live. That's my version.
I like that, kind of flipping the master
Yeah. I think
paradigm.
he's exactly right. The only thing I'd add to it is I'm stealing this from another adaptation of Frankenstein I saw 20 years ago, where it ended with the creature holding Victor in his arms as he walked on a glacier, and then a trap door opened, and he and the person essentially fell into the water and drowned together. The last scene is so powerful because we not only get to see the relationship you were describing, this meeting of them and the transference, but there's a moment where we think Victor is already dead. And so there's this sequence where the creature processes what it is to be alone and what it means to not have Victor. And then, of course, he comes back and we end the play. But sorry, folks, spoilers. But my thought is that the creature, pretty shortly after the play ends, has to experience that grief for real. And then I think he kills himself. Yeah,
If we had sound effects, I would play sad trumpet right now, but we don't because I can't be trusted with them. Yeah, that's probably like their relationship exists in that one just cannot be without the other, and they can't be together. So it is sort of a natural assumption that all of this will end in destruction, as it has with very much of most of the things in Victor Frankenstein's life. Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, different than a musical. No wedding, no funeral, just existential dread and the feeling that we all too will be food for the worms. Cheery.
It's a good memento mori. We love one of those.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
It's
a good
true.
memento
Yeah.
mori.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So the theater is in Brighton, correct? So I love this because the story that sparked this podcast for me was Riverdale Road between Thornton and Brighton. Because
Really?
I used to live up in Thornton, and I used to drive that road all the time, and I had like my own little spooky experiences and whatnot. But so yeah, I love that. It's a nice throwback. So if you go to the play, you can drive Riverdale Road and see a ghost car. It'll be great.
I'm going to take that route tonight. I'm in Arvada. I'll just head north first and come on right over.
At night, you'll see just like headlights that appear and disappear out of nowhere, and there's like no turns. So it's fun. It's very spooky. Yeah.
So we have a couple spooky nonsense questions if you are of the time and desire.
Fire away.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one, it was just a one-off for me. Would you rather be a werewolf or a vampire? And is your creature choice universe dependent? Like, I would only be a vampire in Interview with a Vampire, or I'd only be a werewolf in this one depiction.
I'll go first because Jeff, I feel like, can hold forth on this one. I would probably, like, my knee jerk is werewolf, but in the Harry Potter universe where I can also have magic. Because I do like the Lupin situation there. So that's like my affinity for werewolf comes from that universe. So that's where I think I would head.
Okay.
Vampire. 10 out of 10. No question. No delays. I don't want to look like Nosferatu. Anything else? I'm great with. Uh, we could be Dracula. We could go D&D and talk about Strahd. We could go to Twilight. It doesn't matter to me. It'd be nice to go out in the sun and sparkle. Um, but yeah,
I feel like it
sexy
wouldn't
night
be.
vampire.
I feel like it wouldn't be as off-putting as they make it seem in the movies.
You think
Like
so?
to be sparkly in the sun. Like I don't think people they'd be like, "Wow, you hit the glitter too hard." But I don't think they'd instantly go like, "Oh, you're a vampire. You're not human."
Right, right. Yeah. Oh, and the fangs have to be retractable. That's a huge component.
Mm.
Because otherwise, what are you doing? You just look like a vampire. And I refuse to think if you can transform into a bat that you can't transform your teeth.
It's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay.
Andy, have I ever asked you this? Would you rather be a werewolf or a vampire?
I don't think you have. I think I would go werewolf. But I think I'd want to be a werewolf that turns into like an actual wolf. Like I don't want to be like a weird like half person, half wolf. I don't know though, because some days it would be vampire, but I'm also solar powered. And so not being able to go in the sun might actually kill me anyway. So
What about you, Katie?
Oh, I'm vampire, 150%. That has never changed. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a vampire. I was a weird kid. I'm usually very pale, so it's not that uncommon for me. I already have really cold hands and feet in the winter. It'd be nice if maybe I couldn't feel them as much. No issue drinking human blood. Like, no qualms. No qualms. So yeah, but I love the concept of werewolves in literature and movies. I think it's really fun that there's sort of that analogy for like releasing the animalistic savagery in human nature. And if you don't work with it, then it will come out on its own and fuck up your life. Uh, so I mean, I love both, but I would be a vampire because I love velvet and red things and candlelight. And I don't like, they're just,
plus,
my
plus
heart
vampires,
just,
vampires get like the longevity, right? Like I don't really hear a lot about werewolves living forever. In fact, they seem to live really short lives. So the longevity would be nice. I could read like all the books. It'd be great.
That was also kind of my thing. I mean,
By candlelight. Yeah.
Yeah. You get to be young and hot forever, and all I have to do is drink like a small amount of human blood. Done. Do it.
I think you've talked me into it. I'm gonna change my
Easy.
answer. Okay. You are stuck wearing one costume from a previous acting role every day for the rest of your life. What is it?
Oh, I actually have an answer to that. I did a clown role a few years ago where I played the Captain Hook role in a prequel to Peter Pan called Peter and the Starcatcher. And it was this long, flowing Captain Hook coat with boots and leggings and a shirt cut down to here. Oh, I wear that every day, especially if I got to wear the mustache as well.
No, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, that's a great costume. Great fit, as the kids say.
This is a throwback. I was in a production of Sunset Boulevard, just in the featured ensemble. I had a few. I was actually the finance man. That's a role. You can look
the
it up.
finance man.
I was one of the finance. I was finance man number one. There's two of them.
Of course.
But that era, the golden age of film for me, nice high-waisted, skinny tie. I bought the tie that I had for that show. Like, I just was right. Like, it is the era in which I probably have lived one of my lifetimes, and because it just fits perfectly. And I wish I could have lived in that era. I realize I probably would have died young because everyone smoked 5 packs a day, but that is some of my costume from Sunset Boulevard as the finance man was my favorite costume I've ever had.
And what era is
Ugh,
Sunset Boulevard? Is that 20s, 30s?
It's like the 30s, like 30s, 40s. Yeah, right in there.
a fabulous era for just glam. Like
Mm.
it hits right. I can see that. That's wonderful costume choices. Okay. Um, do either of you have a favorite weird legend from Colorado that you have come across and thought this nugget is spectacular?
Not yet. Which is why I'm
Okay.
listening to your podcast. I grew up in California and I was really into the spooky aspects of Southern California, the abandoned roads and the bridges where that person is, you can see the ghost at 1 a.m. And I haven't found those places here yet. So I am hungry to get some Colorado spookiness in my life. I think my only encounter is every good theater is haunted, and so theater ghosts in Colorado, but they are largely benevolent and delightful.
Have you run into any theater ghosts in Colorado? Do you have any personal experiences?
We think Eugenia Rawls, for whom the Eugenia Rawls Courtyard Theater was built at the King Center on the Auraria campus, where I teach. Um, Young, attractive chorus boys, because her painting is in the back, and you can see this fabulous, beautiful portrait of this glamorous woman. And our young chorus boys say that they have seen her up in the catwalk looking down at them and blowing kisses. Only two chorus boys, but they did not go to school at the same time. They were like
Ah,
9 years apart. So I think we have a haunted theater on the Auraria campus. All the other ones are just like, oh, who turned out the lights? Oh, who opened that door? Um, I call them ghost butlers because they kind of just show up and help you out a little bit. Have you met any theater ghosts here, Bill?
I have not, and do not have any good Colorado stories that I'm aware of. I grew up outside DC in Maryland, and of course we have the whole Blair Witch situation that that made its own thing known back over there. But yeah, I do not know any ghost stories in Colorado, so I will have to pay attention.
Katie did an episode all about the ghosts of our area campus. So
Oh, we did
I haven't
quite a
caught that one
few
yet.
episodes on. I did a deep dive. I went to Metro for my undergrad, so it is a campus that has a very unique history, um, and just a weird energy that I love, but you can also feel it sometimes just stuck. Like it's a weird concept in general. But yeah, Auraria has apparently a number of ghosts. And
Wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, it's a place that exists on top of many other iterations in its life. But that's just Denver in general. That's our state. All hail Lucifer, by the way,
okay.
everyone. All hail Lucifer. Um,
Any
well,
statue that kills its creator. Very
It's
appropriate for
is
peace today.
oh my. Okay,
it is
that
so
gives
it.
me a
Huh,
that gives me a
okay.
different idea.
Nope.
That's not now. That's not now.
That's for later. That's for
Um,
later.
Andy, would you like to close us out with a final?
Oh, okay. Would you? Okay. So back up for a second. Do you guys know about Cheeseman Park?
Yes.
I've been to
Okay.
it. I don't know about it.
So the condensed
Oh,
version is that Cheeseman Park used to be a cemetery, and they decided that they were going to move the cemetery, and then they essentially half-assed it. So there are like a lot of bodies still buried under Cheeseman Park. It's very haunted. So This is such a good one. Would you rather spend the night in Cheeseman Park alone, spend the night in the tunnels under Denver alone, or spend the night in the Stanley Hotel alone?
And so for comfort, Stanley, absolutely. Also, although Bill may not because of The Shining, but I didn't see that till
That
I was an
early trauma.
adult. Yeah.
Yeah. I had an
So
older
fun.
sister. It was a birthday party. They shouldn't have been watching it either. But because I'm adrenaline junkie. I didn't realize that till I took a few years off theater and was like, oh, this is what I love about theater. And so I actually probably would choose the Stanley by myself because I want that fear. I want blood gushing from the elevators. I want children saying red rum to me. I want, I kind of like in a masochistic way want that. So that's where I would end up.
Yes, at the Stanley, if you encounter something weird, it's definitely a ghost. But if you're in the tunnels under Denver, that could be anything, not necessarily supernatural.
Very true.
What would you guys do? Where
Oh,
would you guys stay? I have to know.
I would probably also do the Stanley just because I don't know, it doesn't scare me as much as it used to, I guess. And beds. But I think I am also super fascinated by the tunnels under Denver though, specifically because they're all walled off and like nobody's allowed in them anymore, and that makes me want to go so bad.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. We had those on my college campus. The tunnel, the secret tunnel city underneath.
Mhm.
Katie, where would you stay?
If it's probably the Stanley because comfort, because I love old buildings and I will stay in any old building if I get an ounce of opportunity. If it's the summer though, I could do Cheeseman Park. Like, it's ghosts. They're
Why not?
fun. They're fun. Why not?
If I'm planning to stay awake the whole night, I just like being asleep in like a park would really freak me out with like people. I don't know.
Well, suspension of disbelief that no human interaction will occur.
Yeah.
Any interaction will be supernatural. So,
Okay.
This was so much fun. You guys, can I just thank you for taking the time to come on our podcast and do this. Like, this was I just enjoyed talking with you both so much.
Do you want to tell us or our listeners more details about when and where they can catch your play, and then any social media plugs you want to give or anything?
Where can the people find you?
Fire away, Jeff. You've got it memorized.
I thank you. You can come see Nick Peters' adaptation of Frankenstein with Platte Valley Theater Arts out in Brighton at the Armory at Brighton. We run October 10th and 2 shows on the 11th. But the majority of our run is the next weekend, the 17th, with 2 shows on the 18th. Tickets are $25, $30. Forgive me if I'm misquoting that, but they are in that range. I want to say 30. And shows begin at 7:30 in the evening. Matinees begin at 2 p.m. All this information can be found on plattevalleytheaterarts.org, and theater is spelled with an R-E as opposed to E-R. And it has been such a delight to talk to you both. Thank you so much for your great energy and great questions and giving us a chance to talk about this piece that we're both madly in love with.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank
Like
you.
Katie said, it's been so much fun. Yeah, go check them out. We'll figure out a time.
Yes,
right.
send me an email. I'll be happy to get you guys
Yeah. Are there any other social media plugs or other places you would like audiences of the show to find you or interact with you?
We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. I am not versed enough on TikTok to know whether or not we're there, but we probably are. We should be.
Yeah, Platte Valley
We've
Theater
got
Arts
some.
is on all the platforms.
We're on all the platforms. You can engage with our content. We're always posting videos and memes and trailers and behind the scenes things for our audiences, of which we hope includes all of you.
I did get a sneak preview reel of the Frankenstein show, and it looks
Did you
so
see it?
good. It looks so good. Yeah, it's very exciting. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So go check them out. If you want more of Katie and I, we are also on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us. Everything is at Two Girls Who Scare Easily with the number 2. The email is at Two Girls Who Scare Easily at gmail.com. Yeah. Otherwise, stay smart
Stay safe.
and stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.